this computer. Welcome back to Two C's with a pod. It's just us. No one else. Called an audible this week. This was supposed to be we were supposed to talk last week. We were supposed to talk USA versus Angola. We had committed to that.
Yeah.
Our world changed a little bit between the time that we said we would watch and talk about USA versus Angola, which if you haven't seen that, it has
Spoilers.
an amazing, spoiler alert, the USA win.
They do.
There may or may not be a 46-1 run in that game.
Come on. Jeez, that's so harsh.
We kind of felt like, maybe it'd be a little bit in poor taste for us to do that. I don't know, man. Maybe we should have done it. But we're also pressed for time because we're two pretty busy guys and we have other things to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that was a lie. We don't have anything else to do.
No. And I do think it was kind of important to, I don't know, just let the events of that week kind of transpire on its own. And, sometimes it's just best to kind of listen and chill and kind of, I don't know. It was kind of a media thing. And I think it's important to, that we are in some sorts of ways, some sort of media conglomerate or anything or, and it wasn't any sort of stance by any means. It was just like, I don't know. And I appreciate you understanding because it was just like, man, I don't know. It's hard to talk about anything other than that. And I don't even know if I'm ready to talk about that. Everything was just happening. So, I don't know, just lots of stuff.
Well, let me lob you a softball. You took yourself a Twitter hiatus.
For a little bit, yes. One day.
How long did your Twitter hiatus last? Was it Black Tuesday? Blackout Tuesday? What was it? What was that called?
It was that day. I don't know if it was in particular. I don't know that I wanted to do it that day because of that particular thing. I just needed, I don't know. I just wanted a time to kind of, again, let other voices be heard. I think let myself, my new thing now is I'm a lot to deal with on Twitter and real life, just a period, so sometimes I think it's important to give the people around you a break, and kind of, so it was just kind of a good, refresh the batteries thing, but I can't stay off there long. That I have, and in fact, I really have you to blame for this Twitter addiction that I have in some ways.
I was your gateway.
Yeah, 100%.
I was your gateway. Our good friend of the show. No, cut that.
Yeah.
Terrible friend of the show. At Fake Phil Prince was talking shit on
the
you.
One terrible friend of the show. So every other friend is a great friend, but we have one terrible friend.
Yeah, he. When we announced that we were gonna take just a few days off, that sure. He's like, "Hey, I'll jump in." But again, the rule that we have here, one rule. FPP will never be a guest host.
Yeah, no, okay. That's if in some ways, it's been going around Twitter or social media. If what would you put on social media if you'd gotten kidnapped or something was wrong? If you see from 2Cs that Fake Phil Prince is hosting in any way, that we've been kidnapped or something really horrible has happened. So please check up on us because there's no way that happens other than a terrible.
Yeah, there's no way. Real Phil, okay, maybe we'll let Real Phil, but definitely
great
not.
Guy.
Yeah,
great guy.
Fake Phil.
It's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde scenario, really there in every way.
Fake Phil's a piece of shit. Everybody knows that. So, that'll be in the description. That'll be in the show description. That way, make sure he sees
we
it.
might as well title it that at this point. Really, maybe title the whole kind of subtitle the whole blog or the whole. What do we do? Podcast.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, whatever we do, nothing. So let's walk through it. All right. So you took a Twitter break.
Yeah.
Things were getting pretty intense there. All right. So we came off the COVID, and then we see the horrible video.
Yeah.
Some of us still have not seen the video and probably won't watch it. But that has kind of sparked some outrage.
To say the least.
So
yes.
walk me through your timeline over the last week to 10 days. Because that's about the time that it's happened, right?
pretty incredible how sustained in some ways, and you never know like why things happen, and what's the boiling point and what's the tipping point to make something, because I think every time something like this scenario happens, you start to revisit past ones, and you go, well, why this over any of the other things that have happened, in the past few years or even months, that really kind of tip the scales to this. um, I think the only answer to that is just, again, you have a combination of a lot of things. You have video that's very graphic, very, it's hard to argue with the video that you see. You have, again, this, and I hate to be like slogany or things, but this concept of I can't breathe, going back to Eric Garner and the situation that happened in New York with the chokehold, and so you just had this perfect storm of events that then turned it into a national story very quickly. Minneapolis is a very diverse city. People have we talked about this in other places, but people have a misconception about the Midwest sometimes, and that it's all white and it's all country and it's all, and that's very, very wrong. And so first in Minneapolis, you start to watch and see on social media and on the news and things, you start to see some protests there. And then it just spread so rapidly to the point that then it became another thing. And you saw the rioting and the looting and the things like that. So the timeline is hard to even consider. And I think this is the first time I've ever thought about it, really. It's just waiting for the next thing now. Or it was there for a while, whereas maybe now things seem to have been settled to the point now it's really like, can we reflect on why it happened, what we're going to do next, all those things,
So a couple questions. Have you noticed that these things are system, or there's patterns to them?
Sure.
So in 1968, you had the Watts riots, and then you had the Rodney King riots. I don't know if that's the official. That was the event that sparked
the LA riots, Rodney King riots. Yeah. Sure.
And that was 24 years between those two.
Yeah.
And then this is about 28 years.
Yeah. So it's very cyclical.
Now, and they always happen. Those happen in warmer months. Do you think that the pandemic had something to do with it, right? So a lot more people are sitting at home watching viral videos, or do you think the fact that and we've talked about it on this show, everybody's a reporter.
Yeah.
Everybody can just everybody can come in and like whip their phone out and take a video. So as odd as it sounds, like there are times where people will come into our store and like try to video us making their product.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Just to put it on their story or something. But technically, like we should probably be like, hey, you can't do that for, trade secrets. It's
sure. Intellectual property or something.
Yeah, like, I guess but people, not bad, but sort of. People feel like they have a right to record any interaction, however they see fit. Now, I'm not saying that what happened on the streets of Minneapolis should not have been recorded, but my point is that everyone has a video recorder in their pocket that they can just record anything, right? So
that's a huge part of this. I mean, again, the visual aspect of it, if you were just hearing this as a written story, I think, again, it doesn't resonate near as much, and when you're thinking about timing from after the pandemic and things like that, I do think that's a huge part of this, Andy. Like there is, I think people being cooped up is a huge part of this, There's a level of, I think everyone feels it, I feel it in myself. I feel it in my reactions with my kids, with my own family, there's just a level of tenseness, to the world. And then when you've got this, like every interaction you have, you go on, like when you go in to Dunkin' Donuts, I went this morning, and I was trying to go to the drive-thru, but they kind of messed up my order, so I had to go in. It's just weird, like everything is tense and nervous, and and so when you mix all that in with such a cultural event like that happened, it's a visceral thing, and then it just, and
well, and I think you bring up I think you bring up a good point that people are already on edge.
Oh,
And then they
100%.
see something that just does not feel right, regardless, And again, you're going to call me the unicorn because, I'm one of those people that
Can see both sides of it.
I believe that Black Lives Matter. I believe that Blue Lives Matter.
Right.
I believe that, we can do better and we should do better.
Right.
But
yeah, no.
Where I found myself getting real cynical, and I don't know if frustrated is a word, but just kind of, that looking at it is when COVID-19 started, every company that I've ever done business with online that had my email felt the need to send me an email telling me what they were doing to address the COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely. It's crazy.
Fast forward a couple months, every company that I've ever done business with online is now sending me an email saying that they support racial equality. I look at it as like, is this something you should really have to tell me? Like, I feel like you should and that's probably where somebody would say, well, that's your white privilege to me.
Well, it's again, maybe or it goes to show you that maybe we do, and maybe the need for that comes down to the fact that people, and in all our communities and all the things we do, it's just something to keep aware of, and so maybe those statements, but they are cynical. I understand what you're saying, and a lot of them are very corporate speak to.
Yeah.
And
I saw one that was.
I'm not moved by that. What moves me is where you spend your money, how who you support. I mean, because a lot of these corporations, especially, they support political candidates. So if you say you believe in all Black Lives Matter here, but I know you spend your money here on presidential / senatorial, whatever it is, the money you spend politically is over here, then I got no time for this, your very useless words. If your actions don't speak, then it's a waste of time.
Right. Well, and that's interesting again, because that goes to the difference between you and I, to where you see everything as political. Sure. Right. So
I do.
I saw the thing is like Burger King got, Burger King's trending is like, oh, was it, okay, well, CEO.
It's never good. Corporate guys got to be like, oh no, what did we do?
The thing is I'm sure that guy has contributed to the Trump campaign, and I bet that he's probably contributed to the Biden campaign.
They do it all, of course.
And every organization that I've worked for that I know that has contributed politically,
they go both sides.
They contribute to the side they believe is going to win. But they hedge their bet and contribute. Let's say I've got $100,000 to contribute. They might go, 75, 25, 80, 20.
Absolutely. And they have favorites. I mean, I think, when I say favorites, I mean in the sense that there's more business-friendly politicians, right? And there's more business-friendly parties. There's more, so there is a level of they may want this guy, but they ain't stupid, right? They're also going to give who's ever in power. That's who's going to get the money, So Sporting KC gave a ton of money to Sam Brownback, when he was president, or when he was, oh God, don't let me say president, Sam Brownback in the same sentence. That's disgusting. When he was governor of Kansas, and I do not love that guy. And that was ugly, in a sense. And I don't feel great about it. But then you also go, that would be dumb for them not to, why would they fight the politicians in the state that they have to work in, that they need favors from at times, that they need all kinds of stuff from. So I do think you have to be careful about me and my mom were having a conversation about this, and it was about Chick-fil-A, and they've kind of changed a lot of their policies and a lot of their things, but they came back up in a deal, right? I don't know if you heard about this. I hadn't. But the whole, I guess if any of their employees had Black Lives Matter on their Facebook pages or something like that, they were getting mad about that. And I don't know, again. And we were just talking about it, and I go, man, they have such good chicken nuggets though. Like, they got the best. I can't resist it. I might not love what they're doing, but my God, they're nuggets. So and they've done better. So I feel better about it. But you also you have to. Part of me goes, yes, like I want to spend my money in ways that supports the right things, but it's also very hard. Not, you
Well,
wouldn't be
like
able to spend your money anywhere.
and I guess you're gonna probably give me the Michael Jordan Republicans buy shoes argument, even though the Jordan brand, I'm sure you saw what they did for the
Very
movement,
impressive.
but I didn't notice a retweet from you on that. So but admittedly, maybe it was on your Twitter hiatus.
I'll say it publicly. Good for him. Again, good for him.
No,
That's
but here's the thing. It's the same thing that I told you with the LeBron James thing. Right now, there is zero risk in saying that you support Black Lives Matter. Zero risk.
Mitt Romney was at a Black Lives Matter protest. So if Mitt's out there, then I'll just tell you, you got a free reign, And I'll tell you, Andy, that's why. And Mitt Romney got a lot of hell for it in some circles, and people are like, it's just who cares that he walked, blah blah blah. But part of me goes, if you're starting to move the needle like that, and you're starting to really, that's huge, man. Again, symbols sometimes, and I just, as a studier of history, and I don't mean to like act like I'm some sort of genius historian or anything,
even though you are, that's fine. I'll say it. You're a genius historian.
Not really, but symbols matter, and sometimes they feel like theatrics, sometimes they feel like, but I'm sorry, like some of the most important symbols that we look back on in history were set up, were literal photo ops and things like that, so those things matter, and as trivial as they are, if we're moving the needle to the point where we're going, we have to address this. The things like the kneeling, Andy, and maybe that's a good conversation for you. Like, where are you kind of at? Because I know that was something that you didn't support and didn't really care for, in the past, and kind of things have changed in that sense. So it's interesting where are you kind of at with this kneeling thing now.
Well, okay, hang on to that, but I want to back up to something.
And poor Drew Brees. I want you to just do what Drew Brees did, so that everyone can yell at you on the internet like poor Drew Brees. I mean, I hate to say poor because. Come on, he'll be fine. Some of this, like, I feel bad for Drew. But
I will. I'll answer your question, okay. But I want to back up. You said a word that I can't let go. Two words that I can't let go. You said photo op.
Right.
You know where I'm going here.
Yeah, this is worthy of talking about. Gee whiz. It just shows you the shallowness.
Talk to me about the photo op of the. Of your president.
Oh, Andy, geez. In this scenario, that hurts even that much more. No, this goes to the amount of toughness. And when I say toughness, I don't know how to like explain it. Your ego has to, as much as there's such an ego, we've talked about, like, to be president, your ego has to be just incredibly, in some ways, almost out of control. To allow yourself to think you could kind of run the country in some ways. And all these guys have that. Barack Obama, if you're joking, if you don't think he didn't have, a very, I don't know. He wasn't afraid to let you know. But this man has a shallowness and a insecurity that you cannot have as a president. And the minute you become president, you take a lot of shots, and it doesn't feel good, and you get beat down. I mean, we see these pictures. We've talked about it, of presidents on day one, and then when they step out of office, it is a brutal experience. But the idea of, just because he was getting talked about being in that bunker, right, and he felt like he looked weak, he pulls this stunt to look tough, and then holds the Bible upside down in front of a church, says nothing. The reporters ask, is that your Bible? Just the one time he could have just lied. Just lie and say, yes, it's my Bible. He says, it's a Bible. He says, it's a Bible. Just lie. It's okay. No one's going to be like, if he goes, yes, it's my Bible, no one's going to be like, oh, Trump, that's not your Bible. I mean, they accuse him of a lot of lying, right? But he goes, it's a Bible. I mean, it's the most.
Wait, was the Bible upside down? I don't remember it being upside down.
Okay, here's my thing. You tell me when and again, I'm no biblical scholar but now, when Bibles are, and I wish I had like a book here, the reason I feel like I'm going to decline this call real quick. Sorry. Are you still there?
I'm here. I'm here. Just take
Sorry.
the call. Bring them on.
No, I hated that. I mean, it's cool to have an Apple computer now, but now it's synced up with my phone, and so anything that happens on my phone, like happens on my computer. It's just,
Dude, just bring them on. We'll just.
it's my dad. That would.
Oh,
be
even
really
better.
weird.
Even better. I've got some questions for Big Chris.
Jeez, this would be an interesting conversation for him, wouldn't it? We shy away from this combo, big time. But no,
because tell everybody what your dad. What
my
was
dad
his profession?
Is a police officer. Yeah, my dad's a police officer, long time, 40 years or more.
Retired.
Yeah,
retired or yeah.
Yes, he's retired now. He's doing other work, but he's not doing police work. No, so I just think that it's so sad, and the reason I think he had the Bible upside down is because I've always thought that when you had like the ribbon markers, you know what I mean, that kind of stick out of the top of the Bible. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
When you like a bookmark. Did you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes they're kind of built into the Bible, and you just kind of, and it looked like that was kind of how this one was. It was upside down, if that makes sense, meaning the ribbon was down and hanging down below the Bible. I don't know that many people bookmark. How many people bookmark below?
No, I think on those ribbons, I think they do come out of the bottom.
Oh, do they? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just always, and I've seen some other people
because
say
they kind of come around like that. So your spine's right here. They're going to come around. And then when you
I just always thought it was like it stuck out the top, and then you just I don't know, but it doesn't matter whether it's. I mean, that is the least of the problems.
I'll go grab a Bible and we'll get to the bottom of this.
No, we need to solve this issue, but no, but it's the force, it's the use of force to get to that church for this photo op purely because he wanted to look tough.
Well, here's the other thing though too, and I want to talk about the protests. So if you have people that are trying to climb the fence of the White House,
okay,
shouldn't there be force to keep those people from climbing that fence?
But that's not what was happening before.
No. But I mean, that's like people trying to storm the White House, climb the fence, breach that. Like,
I don't. But have you heard stories of like that? I haven't heard stories.
Yeah, I heard there were people climbing the fence.
Oh no! Like, I mean, I honestly have not heard anything like that.
Early on, there were reports of people trying to climb the fence of the White House.
Oh man!
This was before he went into the bunker, allegedly or not, or whatever. But,
oh, I thought you were talking about. Oh, I'm sorry. What I'm saying. Okay, so let me be clear.
So if you have protests in Washington D.C.,
well, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Hold on. What use of force I'm talking about is for him to do the photo op when he came out and walked out of the White House into the church.
Correct. He tear gassed to clear
Those were peaceful protests. No one was climbing any fence. No one was doing anything crazy. And I mean, every report from every media person sitting down there was like, people were just standing there. And in fact, it was before the curfew. Like they had set a curfew at like 7 and they did it at like 6:45. You know, they like literally did it before the curfew on top of it too. And again, I think it was for that. I what I believe very much so is that he wanted the optics of him tear gassing people, of him pushing people out of the way to get his photo op. It was intended to look tough because that is, again, his insecurity is he cannot, I don't know. I just, it's kind of the grossest part of he's got a lot of gross things about him, but his level of insecurity when you're president of the United States is just like, you cannot have that to me.
But so we're seeing these protesters.
Sure.
And then there's some sort of clash with police, inevitably. We've seen it around everywhere.
Yeah.
If you have tons of people, even before this, if you have tons of people at a high school football game, for example, there's some sort of police presence.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of respects, the police are feeling as if they're being attacked.
Right. Football game or at
no, at the protest, right? So you're really protesting against the police. Is who the folks are there, right?
Sure.
So now you're bringing these police into fair to say, a hostile situation. The whole purpose
created by them though.
The whole.
I mean, that's the only.
Okay, so let's jump into that. If you don't like the way the police treat your citizens,
yeah,
it has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has everything to do with your mayor and your city council. Agree or disagree?
There is national things that can be done, and there's national tones that can be set. I'll just tell you that after Ferguson, Obama put together a task force that literally
but these things happened during the Obama administration too, right? And we didn't hold Obama accountable. We didn't hold Obama responsible.
Well, I want you to think about the difference between those two places and those two things. Okay, Andy, I'm just going to tell you the difference in how it's handled to me, and you can disagree if you want to. Think about the Ferguson riots. Where else did that happen? And where else did the protests happen? Where else was the looting or any kind of problems? What I'm going to tell you is that Donald Trump, as president, has fanned the flames of this to the point that it has become a national thing way more than a conciliatory president did, which was someone who brought people together and said, I'm not going to be a tough guy and bring in the military and bring in the force. I'm going to try to work with communities and try to figure this out with mayors and actually show that this national presence is not all against you. It's actually for you too. We're for the police and we're trying to figure this out. We're also on the government side, but we're also somewhat here on the side of the people and empathizing with that. Our president hasn't said a word about this, like in a meaningful way to help heal this. And in fact, all he has done is make it much more inflamed. So to me, if you look at his handling of this compared to Barack Obama's, it's a perfect example of where you go, here's a human and decent person, a competent president that contained the issue, consoled the issue, and figured it out to a point where it didn't become literally a riot in the streets of every city in America, to a president like we have that turned it into that. And I think if you want to say he's the only one, he's not the only one in any way that's responsible for it, but he has a huge responsibility there in my mind.
So the other thing is I think all these people that are out protesting, the CDC told them it's okay for you to go protest, so you can leave your house. So they're like, oh, sweet. It's going to give me something to do.
It did kind of backfire in some ways, right? I mean, the reopening, like Trump's and a lot of people's push to reopen didn't help with this, because in some ways you're right, so there's a lot of things that have made this, that's not Trump's fault in a sense, like the timing. Obviously, the events in Minneapolis itself was not his deal. But again, there's ways that a president deals with, look at what George W. Bush, I don't love how he's kind of been whitewashed in all of this a little bit, because I don't love his presidency, but he knew how to at least speak to the whole nation in a way that that didn't inflame things and make things worse. And he knew he could rise to the occasion and make it not about politics. And this man it's beyond.
Well, and I don't want to lose my main point either. My main point was that if the police chief reports to the mayor,
did you see him booing down the Minneapolis mayor? Like,
right. If you don't like the way that if you don't like, the police chief or the mayor can fire the police chief.
In a lot of places, yes. So not all, but in a lot of places, yes.
So if you don't like the way that your police are treating your citizens, it's really a mayor issue. It's a city council issue. And that would be another question that I would ask for anyone that attended the rallies in our town on, I believe, June 2nd or 3rd, whatever that Tuesday was.
Yeah.
How many I voted stickers were on people? And here's why I ask, because those were city council races. If you want to impact things like this, this is a local issue. It's a local. That's my belief.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%. I would never disagree with you.
Come on, you would disagree with me. You disagree with me all the time. We disagree on everything. It's the whole reason for our show.
Yeah, I know, but I just mean in the sense that the most important thing you can do is vote. and I literally talked to my kids in 4th grade about that. I'm sure, surely they're going to remember Mr. Campbell telling them when they're 18, you know. But it's beyond me why that's not more important to people and in local elections. Although I will tell you, like, I tried to vote in my local election, but I literally had no one to vote for because I looked up everything about every person that was in my local city election because it was just a municipal election.
Municipal.
Right. And now I don't know how much was going on city council wise in Kansas City as well, and what the deal was there. But going back to mayors, I think Mayor Lucas in Kansas City has done what he can do.
Does Layla want to make a run in on the pod? Let's bring Layla on.
No.
Let's get Layla's take on Mayor Lucas.
What's that?
Let's get Layla's take on Mayor Lucas.
Yeah, exactly. No, but no, he's, and again, there's only so, I will say this, and maybe this goes back to the defund the police argument in conversation, right? And that's what a lot of mayors are being pushed to do. And there's, again, that slogan, if you take it.
Tell me about that, because when I read defund the police, like, and I've been busy. I got shit going on. I don't have time to sit on Twitter all day and, go
Sure.
down this rabbit hole.
Sure.
Like, are people literally saying, like, hey, let's not fund our police force? Is that what? Because when I hear defund the police, I hear either private police, you want to privatize the police, or no police. So tell me what this one's all about.
Well, I think a couple things, and it's levels, right? I would make the argument that defund the police is very similar to the fight for $15 an hour for the minimum wage. And the reason I say that is because it is a very lofty goal that I think if you're a negotiator or anything else, you go, I'm going to go as high as I can with something, and then I hope I get this. Or if I can work my way up to that, that's where I want to be, you know? So, defund the police, to me, if you look at the budgets of some of these, especially in these big cities, these police budgets are out of control, Andy. And you, as being a money guy, I think if you really dug into looking at the budget of police compared to the budget of other services and other things in a lot of these cities, you would see kind of how out of whack it has gotten, because politically, you talked about so much about how politically it's important to, like right now it looks good to be for this. I will also say it's never bad to be anti-crime, right? And to be, I fund the police. I'm for, for taking care of our police, and I want to keep you safe. So there's these ballooning budgets that have happened. And so you get to the point where you have a militarized police, Andy. And that's, to me, the number one biggest thing to me. When I think of defund the police, I think of demilitarize the police. There is no reason for police officers to have the gear, the vehicles, the things that they have are just out of control. There's no.
Well, talk to me about the gear and the vehicles, because here's the way I see it. Just by them wearing that uniform, they become a target. So are you saying that police shouldn't have a bulletproof vest?
Andy, no. That's
so what are the gear? What's the gear you're talking about?
You don't see these men on these things that look basically like full on commando style military. And Andy, they're showing pictures of what they're getting thrown at them, and it's cans of beans. It's it's sticks. It's rocks. I mean,
so if I were to throw a rock at you, what would you feel would be an appropriate amount of protection for you to wear?
But Andy, again, they're being thrown rocks at because again they are showing they are showing force. Do you understand that they also have huge weapons there that they're showing off too? They don't just have these shields. They have massive weapons of that could kill any of those protesters at any point and maul down 50 of them if they wanted to. And
so
so
if the
the idea
protesters
that
show up, should they just not show up? Like why should they maybe just not show up?
Absolutely, there was way too much police presence that caused a ton of these problems. Absolutely, if you look at everything you see, the 99% of the time the aggressors were the police. These streets, Andy, again, and sometimes it's funny because so many libertarians go, they're for the Second Amendment and they're for, for all these things. But then the minute that people take to the streets and they say, these are our streets, I paid for these streets, this is my taxpayer streets, this is my, this is my city, and I'm not going to have this tyrannical government take it over. It's just funny how, if it's about money, boy, those people, those Tea Party libertarians are out going, man, that government, they're going after us. The tyrannical government's going after our money and our things, But when it's people getting beat in the streets and, and everything else, and people want to say, no, this isn't all right. They're like, whoa, no. Just stay. Don't get it. Don't you dare protest. Don't you get out there. And the perfect example, Andy, is the Reopen protest. We saw everything you need to see about what our country's about when massive amounts of white Americans that with guns, heavily armed white Americans were screaming, yelling, pushing cops, going crazy, like literally, trying to break through cops, and cops are pushing them back, and they got heavily armed. They're heavily armed. No tear gas, no batons, no riot gear. You don't even see all the riot gear and the pushbacks with the big visors, and these dudes are in their face, like screaming at them. It's the most bizarre thing. And that's all you need to know to me about this country, is that, again, when people of color or when people of that are poor start to say we've had enough, they strike down with power and force. When people that, again, have money and have power and they finally say it's enough, then, well, they're doing their American duty, and that's what we do in America is we show the government, so it's a bizarre thing to me.
Well, because what I've seen of the videos that I have seen, so I saw the one of the guy in Buffalo, the old man that
yeah, gee whiz, yeah. And they're cheering, Andy, when the guy gets off. I mean, that's the other part of it. That's something that I think me and my dad, always have the biggest arguments about, in a sense, is it was about they have to call that kind of behavior out instead of protecting it,
Well, hold on a sec. I want, if you have some cops marching, what was his purpose? Is he going to get up there and have a conversation with these guys? Is he going to persuade them? Is he going to change their mind? It's one of those things where these guys are walking, get the fuck out of the way.
Okay, Andy, I can't.
You know what I mean?
I can't imagine no, I don't know what you mean, buddy, on that one. There is nothing in that video that says to me that wasn't some of the most horrendous treatment. Again, this is clearly a man that meant no harm, that, was intending, again, regardless of what he was doing, that was not an appropriate thing, and allowing him to just, that will never be to me. And then to see police officers then cheer when those guys get let off,
that whole emergency task force resigned.
Right. That's to me.
So now the city of Buffalo has no emergency task force because the people that have signed up that said, I'll protect the streets, are being vilified.
Because two men pushed down an elderly guy to the point, again, they deserve the vilification. Have some guts, Andy. Have some guts and say, those two guys were wrong and they deserve punishment, and whatever happens to them is fine. They can go get another job. We act like these people have no lives. If I mess up in my job, Andy, I get fired. It's okay. I go get another job. Those men should not be police anymore. They pushed down an elderly man for no reason. And again, that's okay. And those police officers should say that's not okay. We don't respect that. That's not what we stand for. We are here to protect the public. We are here to protect again and serve, not to do something so horrendous like that. Like,
so what's the answer when they're marching from point A to point B? When
they don't march. They walk around. That man was doing nothing. Again, Andy, that goes back to my point that they are the aggressors. They are the aggressors. What are they doing? Why is there 80 heavily armed, riot-geared police walking in that area? There wasn't even any people to begin with, and they started just attacking guys. Like they pushed the old man down. Then you see later in the video they're going after these other people because again, it's just the most. Seeing that video, I don't know. It's very.
See that just goes to me that to me is like, hey, okay, you see these guys walking. Why? What was his purpose up there? What was he wanting to do? Regardless, they push him.
Why would you push him over? Why? I mean, Andy, I don't. It doesn't matter what you want to do. This is America again. Their orders were get from point A to point B. Right? This guy's trying to stop them. This guy's trying to get in their way. He's trying to talk to them. Like probably not the time to have a conversation, right? I know.
Like if a parent of so we lock down our schools, right?
Andy, every day kids don't follow directions, and if I push them down, if every time a kid walked, I'm trying to walk them from A to B, and the kid gets in my way, and I don't like it because I'm the boss and I'm in charge, and I gotta, you should not the time to talk, man. I'm trying to get him to art. Like, dude,
what if a parent decides that, you know what, I'm coming in and I'm going to talk to you at 10:34? Are they coming into your classroom and having a conversation at that point?
How is that in any way equivalent to a man in the street?
Because you're doing your job, and this guy is coming in and saying, "Hey, I pay your taxes. I'm a taxpayer. You're a school teacher. I need to talk to you." If I attack a
parent in the hallways,
no, I mean if that parent comes into your classroom while you're teaching
them, yes, Andy, I still cannot attack them. I still cannot push them over if they have not physically attacked me. And why would a police officer be allowed to do that just because he's walking from point A to point B? I get to talk to them. I pay them. I mean, I hate to be all like that. I do. I really hate to be like that. I do. But they serve at the mercy of my taxpayer money. They are not there to push me over for me to come and talk to them. There's 90 of them. There was no imminent danger. There was no reason for it. There was absolutely nothing to do other than just asserting your power. These people are abusing their power. There are people in these police officers communities and things that are only there to abuse their power and they didn't make it in the military. They didn't make it, and they want to, again, just be jerks to people. I'm sorry. And they have to be rooted out. They have to be rooted out. And this idea that it's just a few bad apples, then where are the good apples? The good apples have got to get rid of the bad apples. You don't get to be a bad apple as a police officer. You have the life and death of our communities in your hands. No different than any other job that requires life and death. So you've got to stand up and say, again, the perfect example, those 4 cops that were standing around watching that man kill George Floyd and said nothing, did nothing. In fact, yelled at the people around them, telling them to fuck off and get away, while that man was dying. And
didn't
that's,
it come
that's
out that those guys were, a couple of them were like on the job less than a week? Didn't that come out?
That's the culture. They're so
no.
scared to death.
I'm asking, didn't,
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure
I'm not sure how that's relevant.
Well, yeah, it's relevant. Like if you're 4 days in on the job, and this is the guy, and by the way, I think that had something to do with it.
If someone's killing someone in front of me, I don't care what rank I am. I don't care if I'm a new. I don't care who I am. I'm stopping a human being from killing another human being.
Hold on, man. Haven't you seen Training Day?
I don't. Again,
Training Day with Denzel.
Yeah,
Training Day. It was like Training Day, man.
I know the culture.
I think that was Ethan Hawke's first day actually on Training Day. So those guys had 4 days in before.
The culture.
I think that it had something to do with the the guy that killed George Floyd, I think that he was showing off for the new guys. I think he was showing off, and he went a
So
little
what
too.
you're saying, Andy?
I'm not defending him at all.
No,
I'm
I
not
know.
defending him at all.
I'm not saying that. But what I think I hear you saying, I feel like is that there's a culture in a police community that has to be stopped and has to be ended. And the idea of defunding police is that, okay? Is that concept of turning it into a police. You'll hear it a lot, and it sounds, I know, cheesy to a lot of people, but it's this concept of turning it into a peace force. Not a force of military might and power is what you've seen right now. We've tried that. I don't know that you haven't seen crime go down that much. Everybody says when they watch the news every day about how horrible it's going and everything else. So try something different. It's like I don't see how continuing on the path of what we're doing is going to fix it. And your point about the fact that in the 1960s we were doing this, in the 1990s we were doing this, now in the 2020s we're doing this. When are we going to do something different? And some of that comes down to fixing the police. And until they start to say, hey, this is just as much of us problem as it is the society's problem, then it's never going to get fixed, and it's never going to, I don't know, so that's where that
I want to ask you, I got another question for you. When you go to work, back when they would let you go to work, remember those days?
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. I liked seeing children. That was fun.
you would show up at your job. You'd work at, what time did you get in? Like 7, 7:30, 8?
Oh, God, no. More like 8, yeah.
8. And then you were there till 4 or 5.
Yeah.
What was the likelihood that you would come home?
Andy.
No, I'm just, what was the likelihood?
Where is this rash of police violence that all these people are dying, Andy? And again, I'm sorry. Actually, if I would love to look up the statistics, because honestly, I'm not sure that teachers aren't killed as in the line of duty in their job as much as police are. I mean, I don't.
Come on, Matt.
Andy,
dude.
Okay. In Sandy Hook alone, there was like 5 teachers. When do you see like 7, 8, 9, 10 cops being killed at once? When do you see, again, Andy, that argument doesn't work for me. It doesn't, because my dad, that's where I will say this. My dad, my dad came home every night, okay? And my dad was I will tell you this, and right or wrong, whatever you want to say about it, I believe my dad was a good cop, because I believe he's got a good heart. And I think that's a huge part of it, but bottom line is, yes, everybody has risk in their jobs. The idea. Did your dad
ever fire his revolver?
No, okay. Not that
so
I know.
In the line of duty, he never
Not that I know of. No.
Was he ever shot at?
No, not that I know of. No, again.
But I'm sure that your dad was in some altercations in his line of.
Andy, don't let me tell you that it's not a risky job, but the idea what I'm trying to say to you is, I'll just tell you this, Andy, and you can say what you want, and you can laugh at the comparison if you would like to. But if you don't think, honestly, adults in schools every day are attacked, physically attacked by kids. We are trained on de-escalation. We are trained on how to literally take it. We are trained on holds to protect the kids and to protect ourselves. Why is that concept not, and we are taught ultimate restraint. Ultimate restraint. Some of these kids are 16, 17, 18 years old, huge human beings. And some of these high school teachers are very much physically threatened by them, hit, whatever it is. And they a lot of times have to take it because they know, again, that ultimately that's their role in the job that they're doing, is to accept a certain amount of that because that's their job. A police officer is no different than me. Like, again, that argument to me will never resonate in any way, in the sense that should never come into play. And how, if that's how we think about policing, then it is a war zone. It's a war zone then. And then that's what we will have, because it's them again. They're getting killed. And so they've got to kill back, like they've got to defend themselves. And I just don't see that. I don't see that police officers have any.
My point is that if you're in a job every day where you got a pretty high likelihood of coming home, but you're not it's much lower than someone like me or someone like you or someone in another profession. You're going to be on edge. And so
That's where
I've
training
I've
and
had some conversations with some of my friends. They're not. I'm obviously not going to name names, but they're
of course.
longtime police officers. And I remember distinct conversations with some of them that, yeah, I got to get out because I don't like the way that I don't like the person that I've become. Because if you're seeing the worst of humanity every single day for years on years and years, it hardens you. And the things that you see. So
I know, Andy,
my
but
point is that they're seeing the worst on a daily basis. They see people at their worst. They see people, like I said, worst of humanity, the worst behavior, the worst. And oftentimes they're the ones that are showing up, pulling some dude off of, his girlfriend that he's, knocked her eye out.
Right. I know, Andy. Listen, that is 100% accurate.
So what are they supposed to do in that situation? Ask him politely to stop.
What I think again is the difference between so teachers just let other kids attack kids. You get what I'm saying? Like there's a way of de-escalating and keeping people safe that doesn't actually involve a lot of the violence that you see. But that's okay. That's a different argument for a different time. But
in high schools, don't they put a male teacher in? Like they're not going to have a pod that's going to have 4 female teachers, right? That have.
Listen, there are many situations where male and female teachers are in very scary and very rough situations. I will only say this again, is that if we're going to have here, maybe just boil it, like catchphrases are good and they work. That's why defund the police is such a big deal now, and it'll get hung around all these Democrats to the point that, it'll be a nightmare for them. So no different than like change in healthcare, they'll try to make it a political kind of albatross. But because people don't want to spend any time again to dig into what they really mean by that. But to me, here's the best example of it. Like, is less cops, more training, more pay. That's what we have to have. We have to have. And I don't mean to again compare it to my profession or what it is. But the expectations on cops, like you are saying, is incredible. They are social workers. They are counselors. They are peacekeepers. They are the amount of stress and jobs that they have been put upon themselves, or that has been put upon them by society is awful. And what hasn't happened is pay. And so sometimes this is what frustrates me, is that this is where your tax money goes into, and people that want to pay low taxes don't want to pay police pay. They've got to understand that that's where it comes from. Like you do understand that if you are paying lower taxes, that means you are paying for less police, less quality fire, less quality, everything like that. So it's always these weird arguments that I get that just always kind of blow my brain up, sometimes is that, like the money, we don't want to spend money to get quality, but we expect this incredible quality. It goes back to my idea of fast food. When I get mad about people that get mad at fast food, maybe if you paid them better with better training, they wouldn't, so you've got choices. If you either want to pay those people well and train them well, or they're going to jack up your order, so you can't be on kind of both sides. Do you want quality? Then you pay for quality, and so I would love to see cops get more money. So that's the weird thing. Like, I'm kind of for defunding cops, but it's a different thing. Like, where do they spend their money? Where do they spend it? Spend it in quality places that actually are helpful. Like, there are so many good community programs out there, Andy, that really reach into the community and help. That's what's got to happen. For every, it's no different than a corporation or any business or team you're in. For every stick that you're hammering people with, you got to give them a carrot. Like you've got to be, and maybe in policing, it's 10 carrots for every stick, at this point, especially to kind of rebuild that, sense of that we're on your side and we're working to it. And I think they're trying, like there's so many great cops out there and there's so many good people that become cops, and there's such a blessing.
And I think that's the thing that needs to not be lost in this whole thing is that we're talking about the 0.02%. And we spend a significant amount of time. Okay, call it 10%. I don't care what you want to.
No, Andy, I'm fine on the number. I'm fine on the number. I just want that other 90. I want that other group of people to be more against that 0.2. Does that make sense?
The greatest goalie that I've ever seen play allowed a goal once or twice. Right.
Tony Meola. Yes.
No, yes. Tony Meola actually. I think they allowed 2 goals. But I want to know about so the fact they allowed those 2 goals, I want to know what happened on those 2. And I don't want to worry about any of the other gajillion saves. But
it's a cultural thing. Just like I said, they've got to stop cheering. They've got to stop being protective. Like, think about if teachers – let me just give you an example. What if a teacher got busted for molestation or something, touched a kid, and they got fired – okay, or maybe that's bad example, but something bad, but maybe you could argue that they maybe shouldn't be fired or whatever.
A parent walked into their room while they were trying to teach, and they
pushed them down. And maybe they got fired. Perfect example. Now, or whatever it is, it would be an odd look if all the teachers were cheering that man or woman as they walked out of the police station or whatever, going, we support you, even though you did this horrible thing, that's where we've got to shift this concept. And I'm not saying that they should pile on either. I'm not saying that they should turn on their own but there's a difference between going, let's clear out the bad apples and let's support them too. Like, get them counseling and like get them taken care of. Like, they do have a hard job, and they jacked up. They didn't kill anybody, those 2 guys in Buffalo. They pushed a guy down when they shouldn't have, in my opinion, So, like, I'm not saying their life should be over and ruined, but I also don't know that they should be police officers right now. They're not ready they don't have the mentality, to me, to be someone with that much power.
I got to call a timeout on you right now. Okay. I just got an email from Overstock.com. Their CEO has sent me their stance on
Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
So please buy our staplers.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Get some good betting. So Overstock.com, they are all in on Black Lives Matter and racial equity. So
I know.
I am glad that at some point I bought from them. You asked me a question about 45 minutes ago. You remember what it was? So you were talking about like the
kneeling, the
police officers being, like they're a team.
Yes.
Right. And so oftentimes in a team, you're going to have you got to have somebody's back, and you got to pick up for your brother, and you're going to be protective. Right.
Yes, Andy, but dude, there is lines. I know you're not done. I know.
I'm not done. I think Drew Brees is one of the really good guys of the NFL.
Okay.
I think that Drew Brees also realized after what he said that he ran a very high risk of losing his locker room. And I
rightfully so, but okay.
I think the risk of losing a locker room gained him some perspective on the apology that he wanted to make and how he would handle it going forward. I think I've read some stories today that Roger Goodell's statement was in direct response to the players' video.
Right.
Have you read this? Specifically,
no, I haven't read. No.
Specifically, the fact that Mahomes appeared in that video.
I did see
some
article that was going around on Undefeated or something. Yeah, that was talking about
the poll that he has in the league has swayed the office. So,
well, I would hope so. I mean, that's really cool.
That's what I said. That's what I was telling you about LeBron. When you said, well, what's the difference between LeBron and Colin Kaepernick? Well, LeBron's the face of the NBA. Patrick Mahomes is quickly becoming the face of the NFL.
Well, sure.
Right. Well, sure. So if the face of your league comes out and says something versus I don't want to disparage Colin Kaepernick, but Colin Kaepernick was not the face of the league. He wasn't an all-pro. He wasn't anything, right? So it's a lot easier.
I think he was better than nothing. I mean, he was he was in the MVP conversation for that year, and he took the team to the Super Bowl. I mean, like I do think he gets discredited sometimes weirdly because like I've seen bad quarterback play. Like I've seen some really just disgusting quarterback play in the last few years that I go, Colin Kaepernick is 1,000 times better than half the quarterbacks in the league. It would be close to it. I would say he's probably better than at least 10 quarterbacks in the league right now is my guess. I mean, I just think I'm not saying I do think he at times he got overrated. Like Ron Jaworski called him, the best quarterback, he was going to be the best quarterback ever, at one point, so I don't know.
But the point is when the face of the league comes out and makes a statement.
But what's sad is it takes that, like to me, I just think it goes back to this corporate, that's why I want the Chiefs. Andy, this goes back to the Chiefs and Metros argument, so you'll love this.
But have the Metros made a statement on?
They will. They're working on it. They're a little slow. We don't have a big, staff right now.
Look, man, if you haven't made where you stand on racial.
The times they are changing, and like I would love for people. I like it when people get on the front foot of it, and don't go, well, since the face of the NBA is saying it, and since or the NFL is.
Well, but that's the point. Is that once the face of the league says it, everyone else is going to follow suit. So.
What they're seeing now with the rioting or different in the violent protests. Well, again, for a while he literally lost everything because he was peacefully protesting. So like I don't know. Like I just think that, and I hope like that's changing. That's changed a big part of this. Like so much has already happened for the good, and just people having these conversations and thinking about what's going on, it will change things, so
so you asked me about the kneeling. I will tell you that if I am in a stadium this year and the national anthem comes on, I will stand, I will remove my hat, and I will hold my hand over my heart.
I'm not asking you if you would kneel. That's not what I'm asking you. And I don't know that I would kneel because, again, I don't find that to be appropriate for me. The question that I have is do you find it like, has your perspective at all changed on this peaceful, protest that this man did as opposed to what's happening now? Like I don't know, you still kind of have the same take on it? Does that make sense? The Drew Brees take. The Drew Brees take is that,
I feel like Drew Brees was ambushed, first of all. Like, I feel like the question
Drew Brees didn't know he'd be asked about it. I mean, I don't know. Like,
I felt like what he said. I don't feel like what he said was really all that bad. Like he said, Have you seen the clip of the guy who told Kaepernick to kneel? That's literally the military. Green Beret. Yeah, I find that you don't find that at all compelling. Like when he literally is saying like this has nothing to do with the flag and has nothing to do with disrespecting our military, or this has everything to do with police brutality. And here's I guess where it comes back to me. It's how you were raised. Right. So I was raised that when the national anthem plays, you stand up, take your hat off, you hold your hand over your heart, right? What do they say at the baseball games when they get ready to play it? Please rise, take your hat off, hold your hand over your heart, right? You know what's going to start happening too, which I think is very appropriate? Why do we say the national anthem before baseball games and sporting events? It's just not necessary, is what it's. No, you're right. I mean, I think it's time to do away with that. I mean, that's one way to solve this is to stop doing all these like nationalistic things, that aren't really necessary in a sporting event. To me, it's kind of gross. If you really think about it again, those people are not honoring they're wasted as hell. They're the land of the free. Like, dude, USA. Oh,
I
so now
find
you're
that to
gonna
be-
shit on the good damn name of Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
No, that
is
wasn't a
what-
hacksaw.
Oh,
That
you
wasn't
were
a
making
hacksaw.
fun of the hacksaw there when you're
No.
USA. Dude, you are lucky
That was more of a
if we were doing this in person, I would fucking go find a 2x4 and
I know. Smash.
I
me
would
with
find
it.
I would oh
He was the best, man. But no, I just, to me, that's a perfect example of a guy that was saying, hey, this is a problem. I'm going to do something very tame in a sense. I'm just going to kneel during the national anthem to promote a very specific topic. Not that I hate the flag or I hate the USA or I hate the military, but to very much bring into light something like that. And I mean, in some ways it's worked. I mean, you look at what's happened with Marcus Peters, you look at what's happened in this city, you look at what's happened with a lot of people, and you go like, geez, I don't know. I just think that the NFL finally realizes that, oh man, I don't know. We haven't treated these players quite very well,
Well, just to we're running low on time, so just to kind of put a bow on it.
Let's do it. Let's wrap it up.
So I feel like throughout this whole conversation, I may not have come off as what's the word I'm looking for here? Sympathetic to the BLM movement.
Yes.
Certainly not my intention. I absolutely 100% support their. I support that movement, but I guess it's one of those things where I look at like where my store is. I literally have in my policies, we do not discriminate, we do not harass, we do not, that type of stuff. So, I would hope that everybody that comes in feels welcome, safe, secure.
Absolutely.
And that would be what I would hope that we as a society could do for each other, right? That
100%.
As long as they want to give me their money, everything's cool.
Yes. But no, I think that's
but I also
your perspective is so important here because you're not, absolutely. You absolutely. And I know your heart and I know you support, you are absolutely 100% against racism. You are definitely have never, you're the most
oh no,
welcoming.
I've definitely had
people.
some accidental racist moments. You heard the story about the grad school thing? I've told you this, right? Oh yeah, that's a beauty. So we're doing this entrepreneurship, like a report on this entrepreneur, and there's 6 of us, and our entrepreneur was Lamar Hunt, and we're up there the first week of class, and my part was I forget what my part was, but in this segment it was kind of the start of the AFL, and the points that I was supposed to make were the AFL was the first to adopt and revolutionize the forward pass. Recruited African-American players and had colorful uniforms. You see where I got confused here? Yeah. Got the forward pass part good. You know where I'm going here, right?
He mixed, yes.
Called them coloreds.
Yes.
They recruited coloreds.
Oh, no. Yeah, that is one of those deals where, like, you want to keep that word way far away, even if it's, like, not in context, like, so you just accidentally don't let that thing slip in there, yeah.
So, like, I'm mortified, dude. I get back to my table, and they're like the square tables where you got, like, 6. Next guy goes up. Dude, I'm sitting down, and this guy just goes, got a little confused there, didn't you? I think not only did I go racist, I went 80-year-old lady racist.
Right, with the colors.
With the coloreds,
You don't hear that word too often. But no, I think I
love the coloreds.
But yes, I don't think we want to wrap on that. But yeah, no, and that's what's cool about ultimately, like, anybody I've had a conversation, including you, like, we have very different kind of perspectives on it. But ultimately, where we 100% agree is that racism is awful. We have to figure out a way to treat each other better on every level. The people in power, the people who, the people who are in the streets, all those things. Like, we got to figure this out. And again, these conversations, the important thing, and again, it's sad that it takes like what's happened to kind of spark these conversations, but these are so important. And like, we're continuing, and the question is like, we're obviously better off than where we were, and we'll continue to get better. And I believe in like my children. I know you believe in yours. Like, their hearts are so much, they just are so much better than us in some ways. And so they'll fix it. We just have to bridge it to them, like we just have to get it to them. But
one thing I hope that maybe is a good thing that comes out of this. I hope a lot of these people that are down protesting and these people that are making their voice heard and those types of things might consider a career in law enforcement.
What a great point. Yeah,
because
exactly.
you can impact
change culture by inside
better than, because honestly, man, if I were to come in here and tell you how to run your classroom and how to be a better teacher and all of that, it's offensive. But if I have been a teacher or am currently one, and I'm trying to impact change, that message is much better received there versus like, just an outsider going, "You're shitty at your job."
Yeah. And then hopefully these changes can make it more appealing, and make it more, again, make people feel better about going. Number one, increase the pay, and take care of these people. Because like you said, they are risking their lives, and they are in a tough job. So if you pay them well, if you train them well, like if you do actively work hard, you'll never get rid of, like we've talked about, you'll never get rid of every bad person, but if you're working on it, like if you're trying to, I think that's what people want, and that's what's happening.
I mean, we've seen some pretty scary things, just, just some of the militarization, I would agree with you on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would say, if it were happening in front of my business, I'm not going to be like the brother at Target, because, there's a lot of us small business owners have gotten our asses handed to us pretty good in 2020.
Sure.
And so like to just open back up and then all of a sudden, your place gets looted, it gets robbed, it gets burned. I mean, you just hope that those people are insured.
Yeah.
To that, right? So when the CEO of Target comes out and he's like, we can rebuild a store, no big deal. Dude, they may or may not rebuild it, but I guarantee you that they're filing an insurance claim on all of that.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
So the ironic thing about, something like that versus COVID-19, if given the choice of having to shut down because of COVID-19 or because your place got looted, you're probably better off if your place gets looted and burned down, because then your business interruption and loss of income insurance kicks in versus COVID-19. No, there's no property damage. So, right. I mean, it's a weird thing, but
sad scenario
but yeah, man, I just hope that, I hope that, to borrow from Rodney King, man, if people can just get along.
Yeah.
And I do think that we've made strides, but it's also not my place to say I think we've made strides, because I'm, I've never been in a situation where, well, my brother was pulled over last week, and this is kind of one of those stories you would hear about white privilege, and maybe we'll just wrap on this, but cop comes up to the window. Hey, caught you going, or clocked you going, I don't know, 65 and then 35. I don't know. I don't think he was doing that bad. But point being, he got caught for speeding. My brother's like, hey, just want to let you know I've got my gun in my car. Paperwork's here, and here. Him and the cop end up, they have a conversation for a little bit. My brother gets a ticket, but, drives off. Right. Didn't get pulled out of the car. No. Didn't get didn't get sat on the curb, didn't get his face jammed into the pavement.
Right. Didn't yeah, they didn't even probably check his papers. They took his word on it that
the cop said something to the effect of, "Hey man, as long as I can see your hands, we're fine."
Right.
Hands on the wheel, right?
Yeah,
exactly. as long as I can see your hands, we're good.
Right.
And
and
so like, to me with the heightened awareness of all of this, I think what happened if my brother was black in that same situation? Because he probably is dragged out of his truck or asked to get out of his truck, or
100%.
They want to search the truck and all of a sudden they find, weed or something like that. And now he's got an unregistered gun that they ripped up the paperwork in the.
Exactly. So we've got to get to a point where that just stops happening on,
and you would hope that there's more African-American police officers, black people that want to be police officers,
Absolutely. Right.
And not the one like in Boys in the Hood, because the black cop in Boys in the Hood was super mean.
Yes. No, there's lots of, that doesn't make you, just, it's the idea of just a lot of training for them, because that amount of power, like we talked about earlier, can really corrupt and make you really, and like you said, and the stress of what they see.
Well, and now the police are being policed. And so, they're, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Well, next week, man, maybe we'll watch a basketball game or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Since we solved the world's problems here, we're
I'm gonna call you from. I'm gonna call you from the beach. So.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, I'm calling you from the beach. So
amazing.
Loading up the family truckster and heading south. So
amazing.
I'm gonna catch up with Becky from Valdosta and Mike in Nashville, or maybe it's Nashville Becky and Mike in Valdosta.
There it is.
Yeah, we're gonna go catch up with them. Spend a little time.
Incredible.
Yep, I'm gonna go. Because like my granddaddy always said, tan fat looks better than white fat.
I would agree with that. That's true.
All right, buddy. I'll catch up with you. I gotta go get the girl from dance. So
all right.
I'll see you.
See you, buddy.
All right. Take it easy.
See ya.